All right, so this time, we're doing something a little different for this deep dive.
Oh.
We've been, looking at all this really interesting nonfiction stuff lately.
Right.
But this time we're going to be jumping into the world of fiction
Interesting.
with Franz Kafka's The Castle.
Okay.
But don't worry, we're still going to be searching for those real-world connections.
Yeah.
Those points where, fiction kind of shines a light on our own experiences.
Right. And The Castle is perfect for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was published in 1926, but it deals with these themes that still feel so relevant today.
Wow.
Alienation, the struggles of bureaucracy.
Oh, tell me about it.
And that very human search for meaning,
Yeah. It's almost eerie how a novel written, nearly a century ago can still feel so spot on about like our 21st century anxieties.
It really is.
So, okay, for those of you listening, imagine this. You arrive in a new place for a job you were specifically invited to do,
Okay.
only to find that no one seems to know you're coming.
Oh, wow.
That's our main character.
Okay.
Okay, we never actually get his full name.
Interesting.
He shows up in a village, ready to take on his role as a land surveyor
Okay.
for this mysterious castle looming over everything.
I see.
But the castle itself and the people within it are shrouded in this really unsettling mystery.
Oh, that's a powerful setup.
Isn't it?
You're immediately drawn into Kay's frustration. He's supposed to have this important role, this purpose,
Right.
but he keeps hitting these walls, literally and figuratively.
It's true.
And what's really fascinating is how much of this seems to come from Kafka's own life.
Oh, really? So Kafka poured his own feelings into the castle.
Absolutely.
Tell me more.
So Kafka worked in insurance for a good chunk of his life.
Okay.
And he really disliked the bureaucracy that came with it.
I can imagine.
There's even a letter to a friend where he describes his office job as like a wasteland of paperwork.
Oh, I felt that. That feeling of drowning in forms, getting lost in phone trees,
Yeah.
transferred from department to department. Like, I think we've all been in Kay's shoes at some point.
Exactly. And Kafka takes those everyday frustrations
Uh-huh.
and magnifies them in the castle.
I see.
Kay encounters endless paperwork, confusing procedures, officials who are either totally unhelpful
Yeah.
or just completely indifferent.
It's the worst.
He's basically trapped in this bureaucratic nightmare.
Wow. So it's like Kafka is saying bureaucracy is more than just a necessary evil. Like there's this darker side to it.
It's definitely a pretty scathing critique of bureaucracy.
Yeah.
It really suggests that these systems, even if they start with good intentions,
Right.
can become so convoluted
Yeah.
and so impersonal that they lose sight of the human beings they're supposed to serve.
Right.
They become dehumanizing.
And that seems to tie directly into that other big theme,
Yeah.
alienation.
Oh, absolutely.
Kay is a total outsider in this village. He just cannot connect with the locals.
Right.
Who are strangely devoted to this castle.
Yeah.
Even though they don't seem to understand it any better than he does.
And again, this sense of isolation.
Yeah.
This was something Kafka really struggled with personally.
Oh, interesting. In what way?
Well, being a German-speaking Jew in Prague often left him feeling like an outsider, like he didn't belong in either community.
Wow.
He also struggled with social anxiety
Oh.
and had a complicated relationship with his father.
So all of that likely fed into those feelings of alienation?
Most definitely.
So Kay becomes this vessel for Kafka's own anxieties, his own struggles to connect.
Exactly. And by putting those emotions into the castle,
Yeah.
Kafka creates this incredibly relatable portrait of loneliness.
Right.
And that longing to belong.
It makes you wonder, are we any less isolated today? Even with, constant connection through social media and technology.
That's something for everyone listening to consider.
Yeah.
Has all this technology actually made us more connected?
Right.
Or just given us new ways to feel alone?
It's a great question. But before we go too far down that rabbit hole, let's get back to the castle itself.
Okay.
This looming structure. It's not just a setting.
Right.
It's practically a character in the story.
It really is. The symbol of power and authority.
Yeah, but it's also incredibly elusive.
Isn't it?
Everyone talks about the castle,
Yeah.
but no one seems to truly understand it
Right.
or even be in it.
It's like this ultimate goal that's always just out of reach.
That's where Kafka's brilliance really comes through.
I agree.
He takes this very specific situation, Kay's quest to reach the castle,
Uh-huh.
and uses it to explore these broader, more universal questions
Right.
about power, authority, and the systems that control our lives.
It's so true.
So the castle represents any institution or any figure of authority that we might strive for validation from,
Exactly.
but never truly grasp.
Think about it. Do we really understand the inner workings of our governments or corporations or even our own families sometimes?
It's true.
Or are we all just navigating these systems blindly,
Yeah.
hoping to find our place within them?
That's kind of unsettling when you put it like that.
It is, isn't it?
We're all okay, in a sense.
In a way.
Constantly searching for answers and validation
Yeah.
in a world that often feels like it's designed to keep us in the dark.
And yet there's something so captivating about Kay's persistence.
I know, right?
Despite all the setbacks,
Yeah.
all the frustrations, he never completely gives up on his quest to reach the castle.
I guess that speaks to that innate human desire, to find meaning and purpose,
Yeah,
even when, like, all the odds are stacked against us.
absolutely.
But speaking of purpose, what about Kay's job as a land surveyor?
Oh, right.
Is there, like, a deeper meaning to that?
Yeah.
Or is it just some random profession Kafka chose?
Well, remember, Kafka was known for his use of symbolism.
That's true.
It's highly unlikely that he chose Kay's job randomly.
So what do you think it means?
Well, some scholars believe the land surveyor represents someone trying to measure and make sense of the world,
Okay, yeah.
but ultimately finds it impossible to fully comprehend.
It's like he's trying to impose order on something that's inherently chaotic.
Exactly.
Which, let's be honest, is a lot like life itself.
So true.
We're always searching for patterns and logic
Right.
in a world that often feels random and unpredictable.
And maybe that's a key takeaway from the castle.
What's that?
The acceptance that we may never have all the answers. That sometimes the best we can do is just navigate the absurdity.
Yeah.
And keep searching for meaning, even if it's always just out of reach.
I like that. So even though it was published nearly a century ago, the castle still feels incredibly relevant today.
It really does.
It's like Kafka had this, like, uncanny ability to tap into those timeless human anxieties
Yeah.
and frustrations.
Right.
Things that go beyond any specific era.
I agree.
But okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I have to ask, did Kay ever actually reach the castle?
That's the million-dollar question. And sadly, we'll never know for sure.
Oh, no.
Kafka never finished the novel.
Oh, wow.
So Kay's fate, like the true nature of the castle itself,
Yeah,
remains a mystery.
that's crazy.
But that open ending is part of what makes the castle so powerful.
Oh, how so?
It forces us to confront the ambiguity of life. The idea that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination.
It's true. It's a great point, and it's something we'll definitely be getting into further in the next part of our deep dive.
For sure.
So for those of you listening, if you're starting to feel like Kay, lost in this maze of unanswered questions,
Yeah,
you're not alone.
definitely not.
We'll be back soon to explore more of Kafka's world
Absolutely.
and see what other insights we can get from this timeless masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece.
It is.
One of the most captivating things about the castle is how Kafka uses absurdity to highlight the absurdity of, well, the human condition itself.
It's true. There are these moments where you just find yourself, like, laughing out loud.
Right.
But then you realize, oh, wait, this is actually reflecting something pretty profound about the world,
Exactly.
about, our experience in the world.
Like, there's this one scene where Kay is just desperate to get a message to the castle officials, and he ends up chasing a sled carrying laundry.
He's chasing laundry.
Yeah, it's comical, but it also speaks to that feeling of futility
Oh, yeah.
that we often experience when dealing with these, big faceless institutions.
Right, like you're running in circles, trying to follow all the rules.
Yes.
But the rules keep changing.
Exactly.
And you just end up feeling like you're chasing dirty laundry.
Literally and metaphorically.
Or both, exactly.
And that's how Kafka makes us question these systems, right?
Yeah.
The ones we just kind of take for granted.
Yeah.
He's not saying all rules are bad or anything.
Right.
But he forces us to consider, are they actually serving us?
Yes.
Or are they just making our lives more difficult?
So instead of just, like, blindly accepting the systems,
Yeah.
we should be more critical, ask questions,
Absolutely.
and maybe even embrace a little bit of that absurdity.
I think that's a very valid takeaway.
Yeah.
Kafka's work often encourages us to question assumptions.
Okay.
To find our own meaning amidst the chaos.
Right.
Even if it means, acknowledging that sometimes things just don't make sense.
Which brings us back to Kay's relentless pursuit of the castle.
Yeah.
He just never seems to lose hope.
He doesn't, does he?
Even when he's constantly facing these setbacks, you know?
It's true.
What do you think? Is there something admirable about that determination? Or is it more like a tragic flaw?
I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's really open to interpretation.
Okay.
Some readers might see Kay's persistence as heroic, a testament to the human spirit.
Oh, interesting. Like that ability to persevere even when facing these huge obstacles.
Yes, right.
But then others might see it as more of a self-destructive obsession,
Okay.
a refusal to accept reality.
I can see both sides.
Yeah.
It's like it reflects that duality in us as humans.
Yeah.
We're capable of such great determination.
Right.
But we can also cling to false hope.
Yes.
Even when it's not doing us any favors.
And that duality is something Kafka captures so brilliantly in Kay.
Right.
He's both sympathetic and frustrating.
Yeah.
Determined and delusional.
It's true.
And that complexity just makes him such a compelling character.
It does.
Because he reflects those contradictions that are within us all.
It's true. And maybe that's why The Castle still resonates. Even, almost a century after it was published.
Yeah.
It's like it taps into these universal human experiences.
Right.
Alienation, bureaucracy, the search for meaning.
Experiences that are just as relevant today as they were back then.
And it does it in a way that's both intellectually stimulating and emotionally resonant.
That's true.
Kafka's writing style, it's deceptively simple, but it's packed with layers of meaning and symbolism that just invite multiple interpretations.
It really is like a literary Rorschach test.
It is.
Every reader brings their own experiences, their own perspectives, and comes away with their own understanding.
Which makes discussing it so rewarding.
Yeah.
Because there's always something new to uncover.
Right.
Another layer to peel back.
Yeah.
Another question to ponder.
So thinking about those questions, I want to kind of shift our focus to you, the listener, for a moment.
Okay.
We've talked about Kay's struggles with bureaucracy.
Yeah.
The elusive nature of power. But how do these themes connect with your own life?
Yeah. Have you ever felt like you were banging your head against a wall? Trying to navigate a system that just didn't make any sense.
Or ever questioned the motives of those in positions of authority?
Right. And if so, how did you deal with those feelings of frustration?
Right. Of powerlessness.
Yeah.
These are important questions to reflect on because I think they can help us understand, not only Kafka's work, but also our own place in this crazy world.
Absolutely.
And as we continue our deep dive into The Castle, we're going to be exploring more specific examples of how these themes play out and what insights they might offer for navigating the complexities of modern life. One of the most intriguing things about The Castle that we haven't really touched on yet is that whole idea of truth and meaning.
Yeah, it's like Kay is constantly searching for answers, but the more he digs, the more elusive they become.
It's almost as if truth is like constantly in motion or maybe doesn't even exist in a fixed form at all.
It's a pretty unsettling thought.
It is, right. Like, if there's no ultimate truth or objective meaning, what's the point of striving for anything?
And that's exactly the dilemma Kay faces throughout the novel. He's so convinced that if he can just reach the castle, secure his role as a land surveyor, then everything will fall into place.
Like he'll have purpose, validation, finally belong.
Exactly. But as we know, the castle remains just out of reach.
So is Kafka suggesting that the whole search for meaning is pointless? That we're all just wandering aimlessly?
I don't think so, no. I think the castle is more about challenging our assumptions about where meaning comes from.
Okay.
You see, Kay is looking for this external validation, approval from a distant, mysterious authority.
So what if real meaning isn't found out there but within ourselves?
Exactly. From the choices we make, the relationships we build, the experiences we have, all those things, regardless of whether they fit into some grand plan or not.
So instead of trying to squeeze ourselves into these predefined roles or structures, maybe we should be focusing on creating our own meaning, finding what truly resonates with us.
Exactly. It's a much more liberating way to approach life. Letting go of the need for certainty and embracing the ambiguity, the not knowing.
It's almost paradoxical.
It is.
Yeah.
But maybe that's where we find a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment.
Even though the castle can be pretty bleak at times, there's that glimmer of hope in there.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like Kafka's telling us, hey, the world might be absurd, but your life doesn't have to be.
That's a great way to put it. And I think that's one of the reasons The Castle remains such a powerful and enduring work. It makes us face those uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world, but it also offers this flicker of hope.
It reminds us that even when everything seems absurd, we have the choice to forge our own path, to create our own meaning.
That's such a powerful message to end on.
It is. So for all of you listening, as you navigate the complexities and, let's be honest, the frustrations of life, remember Kay's journey. Remember the absurdity, the alienation, but also remember the resilience, that persistence in seeking meaning. And remember that we might just find meaning in the most unexpected places.
Perhaps the real castle isn't some far-off destination, but rather a state of being.
Yeah, like a feeling.
A sense of purpose and fulfillment that comes from within, no matter what challenges we face.
That's a great image. And with that, we'll wrap up our deep dive into Franz Kafka's The Castle. We hope you enjoyed exploring this timeless masterpiece with us, and maybe even gained some new perspectives on your own search for meaning in a world that can often feel like, well, a bit of a Kafkaesque maze. Until next time, keep questioning, keep searching, and keep embracing the absurdity.